Thanks a lot for joining us, no matter where you're going, whatever you're doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this beautiful Friday. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things in check. Hope your day's off to a good start. You've had a great week and ready for the weekend. We've got plenty to get to. Yesterday, of course, IU football media day. We were out there with complete coverage. We heard from Tom Allen, Kalen DeBoer, Cade Womack, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators, and I suppose the head coach, of course. And we talked to numerous players. We'll have all of that for you over the next coming days. Today we'll hear from Coach Allen, Coach Womack, Coach DeBoer. A lot of excitement. Most of it's just for me, I guess. But I'm excited about the program. I think it's going in a great direction. I think big things are coming this year. Man, I'm just – and – Coach Allen continues to bring in talent. The latest, of course, yesterday, tight end Jalen Williams, a 6'7", three-star tight end from Florida, the third commitment from Florida. I posted that if Coach Allen continues to bring in this level of talent at this rate, and there's no reason not to think that he will, I don't think a lot of people are going to recognize the Indiana football program in a couple of years. There are just things in place that seem like they've been missing for a while, and I think it's a good start for the Hoosiers, man. I'm just expecting. I'm telling you that this quarterback battle that's going to come up. We spoke with all three quarterbacks yesterday, and Peyton Ramsey is not going to go down easy. I can tell you that. He's not going to hand over the starting quarterback's position. He goes into fall camp as the incumbent and the heir apparent. And the other guys got to knock him off the hill. If you want it, you got to take it. That's basically what Tom Allen has said. So the battle begins today as fall camp opens for the Indiana football program. Practice starts Friday morning. So that battle now will begin. And I would imagine over the next 2 weeks, before they have to make a decision. Kalen DeBoer didn't give any kind of a timeline. Coach Allen up at Big Ten Media Days said that he would like to have that quarterback named about a week before the kickoff, which makes sense. So that guy can take the reps with the first team so he can begin to molding the team around him, which is, I expect that to happen. But, man, if anybody thinks they know who's going to start, it's strictly a guess. You got a 33% chance of being right. And I've all along, I'll be honest with you, have thought openly that Peyton Ramsey has no shot to be the starting quarterback because he's had 2 years, and we saw 2 years of the same result. Okay, football, but not able to get the ball downfield. They didn't score many touchdowns last year. That's a lack of explosion, lack of big plays. They couldn't stretch the defense last year. But you can't write Peyton Ramsey off. He's been down this road before. He's been through these battles before. Who knows that he hasn't gotten much better than what we've seen in the past. So I'm going to reserve judgment. And I certainly don't know between Penix and Tuttle because we haven't seen them all practice together healthy. That hasn't happened yet. Penix was recovering from his knee injury. Tuttle got sick, couldn't play in the spring game. So we have not seen them together. That's going to be happening starting today. Let's see, who do we have? Kalen DeBoer. I asked Kalen DeBoer specifically. It seems like all the pieces are in place. You've got a great quarterbacks room, running backs room. Man, they're deep at running back. The receivers, even the line. You've got some experience there. So the pieces seem to be in place. I asked Coach DeBoer if those pieces in place are there to make sure that this offense can be as successful as it can be. Good Boyle, Indiana Sports Media Coach. In the last couple of years, the offense has been very close, but it seems like it was just short. Are you confident that all the pieces are in place for this offense to be as successful as it can be?
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of variables that happen throughout the years, and you got, some experienced offensive linemen you kind of hang your hat on. You got some skill guys that are coming back, and you can put 5 guys out there that have played some football around the quarterback. So, I think every year you kind of have your own adjustments and spin. And even if I was here this year and next year, you might tweak a few things just to fit who you are and what you do well. And so the pieces are here. I watched the guys this spring and just continued to went back after the spring and the summer, watched last year's games again. You just have a good feeling that another year of experience underneath all of these guys' belt, and a few tweaks here and there, and, we can be off and rolling.
That's offensive coordinator Kalen DeBoer. His first season coming up with the Hoosiers. Everywhere he's been, he has added 12, 15 points per game from the start. If he's able to do that with Indiana, well, there's some wins right there. They were 3 times they lost by less than a touchdown last year with what I call a mediocre offense. But if they were able to win those 3 games, that's an 8-win season, guys. Text into the show from Tim, down to the final 2. He's talking about basketball here. Another 2020 football commit, Jalen Williams, tight end from Florida. Wonder if he plays basketball too. Well, there's not going to be any room on the basketball roster, that I can assure you. Basketball roster is going to be, as we get closer to 2021, that's going to be a very interesting class for Indiana because obviously it is one of the most talented classes in a few years in the state of Indiana. And more offers continue to go out. That's the class that includes Christian Lander, Caleb First, among many others, but Drake Hoffman. Also, Indiana's offered Javonte Brown-Ferguson. He's a 6'11" big man. He's at Mount St. Joseph's in Maryland. He's actually from Canada. But he spoke with Peegs and said, I was very excited. I'm very interested. They've shown a lot of interest in me. He's in that 2021 class. Now, he is unique. He could potentially reclassify. But if he reclassifies and say he goes to Indiana and takes that 4th scholarship, then they can't carry that over to the 2021 class. Then that leaves him with 3 offers without other types of roster movement. One possibility is we don't know what's going to happen with Jerome Hunter. But as of right now, if they fill the scholarships from this year, they'll have 3 to offer in that 2021 class. That's not very many for a class that is just freaking loaded. That's a class you want about 5 commitments in. I mean, you don't ever want to have a gigantic class, I don't think, that has so many. But although the 89 class with 7 badass recruits didn't work out too badly, 2 of those guys ended up transferring, and the other 5 made it. So if you can get 5 and hang on to the 5, but that's going to be it's going to be a tough situation. Hey, on the program today, Tom Brew from the new Maven Sports Illustrated Network just launched yesterday. He runs the Indiana site for that format. He will be with us. He was at Football Media Day as well. Our good buddy Todd Leary's back on the show. Looking forward to hearing from Toddrick, the Todd father. IU men's soccer's Jack Mayer was added to the Mac Herman Trophy list. the Mac Herman is the Heisman of soccer. Indiana players have won this award 12 times. Can you imagine have 12 Heisman winners? That's what this is. We have Indiana has 12 Heisman winners in soccer. You know who won that award? Todd Yeagley. He was a badass. I think he was like a 2-time All-American. The NFL returned last night. Football was on, man. I watched football. Jake, did you watch football?
I was playing basketball.
Well, I can't blame you for that, man. Getting exercise, that's good for you. But I did. I was not playing basketball. The Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Hawks. Just kidding. Atlanta Falcons of the NFL. And the Denver Broncos. Denver wins 14-10. It was the Hall of Fame game. But it's the unofficial kickoff to the football season, man. Today we've got Indiana football practice starting. Kickoff is a mere 29 days away at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, as the Hoosiers will open up against the Ball State Cardinals. It's going to be interesting to see. I have only seen the Big Ten Championship up there. It's a big-time stage. But I'm looking forward to getting into Indiana Stadium. This is going to be the first year that's really, really complete, I think. And so, and that Ohio State game is going to be packed. We also got a reboot of Pat Graham coming up. Let's get to that. We got a lot to get to today. We're going to hear from Coach Womack yet, Coach Allen from IU football. We'll hear from Michael Penix, Jack Tuttle as well. Stay tuned. We appreciate you joining us here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat will be back with Pat Graham right after this.
Don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle with you as always, and I couldn't be happier to have one of my absolute favorite IU players of all time, a good friend from a long time ago, Pat Graham. Pat, how are you, brother?
Doing good. How are you?
I cannot complain. I'm talking to you, so that's a great thing. I haven't gotten to see you in quite a while, but a guy from we both went to Floyd Central High School, and Pat was probably the greatest player that ever came through there, and that's a long line of great players. And speaking of that, Southern Indiana used to always get they didn't get as much notoriety as the northern side of the state, but man, there are a lot of guys, just the southern part of the state, but even Floyd Central, man, there's a lot of great players that come from that way.
Well, it's, you know, I kind of, even back when that was always kind of the running joke that Southern Indiana got forgotten, this and that, and I never wanted to use an excuse or anything, but, you know, we still, even down here, I live now in Evansville, Indiana, and I said, you know, we always kind of laugh that we don't get the pub down here. I said, well, don't worry about it. I've lived it since I was, you know, in the 80s when I was at Floyd Central, so I guess it's just kind of a running joke, but yeah, there's some decent players in Southern Indiana. Always has been.
Of course, you mentioned you've been down in Evansville for quite a time, a family. You got a couple of kids. Your wife, who actually her father was my football coach in high school. A great time. But you've got a couple of kids now that are going up and going through what you went through playing high school basketball. What's that like as a father now? Because I know for me, high school still seems like it wasn't that long ago, but unfortunately it was. But you're getting to live it through your kids now. That's got to be fun.
It's maybe one of these days I'll be able to say I enjoyed it, but you know, I've always said watching sports, coaching sports, coaching your kids, and again, there's a hell of a lot of high school and even football and baseball coaches that's had to coach their kids, and even back when you and I were in high school and stuff, but it's not fun. I'll be honest with you, it's not as fun as it should be because, and I've always said this, it's a lot easier playing than coaching. And then when you have a son out there also, or two sons out there, yeah, there's a different nervousness to it, I guess. There's a different, because again, when you're not playing and you're not in control, you know, it's always someone else has the control. That's not as much fun as a coach, or to me it isn't. And I maybe one of these days I'll look back and say, man, that was fun. I'm sure one of these days I will, and I'm kind of joking about it. But it's different, and it's you know, it's not all fun and games and laughter. There's been some tough nights, but it is what it is. I have two good kids, and they work their asses off. But yeah, one of these days I'll be able to look back and say I had a little bit more fun than I do right now.
And Evansville's a great area for high school basketball. Of course, Christian Lander from down there, but you had Alex Hemingway, just went to Clemson, and always a lot of talent, like Albert Chaney, of course, from there, amongst many, many others. But a great area for basketball. How's your kids? I think they go to Evansville Harrison, right? Or Memorial?
No,
Memorial.
They go to Evansville Memorial.
Memorial, yeah. They
go to Memorial. Yep.
And how's Memorial going to be?
Well, we had a pretty dang good year last year. We had two. You know, we were led by two kids that were predominantly football players. One, Michael Lindauer, went to Cincinnati, and the other one went to Southern Illinois, Branson Combs. And we had Sam DeVault, who signed it basketball to Austin Peay. So we lost an awful lot this year, but we got, you know, again, it's the roller coaster. It's the up and downs, and and we'll be a little young this year, but we've done this before.
And we talked a little bit about this off air. It's not just high school, college as well, but the game is different today. The kids are different today. The way they're treated, the way they're coached, approached. Some of them are coddled. There's a lot of things that you can't do today, and some of it justifiably. But then there's other things that you can't do because somebody's going to get mad or somebody's not getting enough playing time or whatever.
It's a different thing. Again, back when you and I were doing this, and good friend of ours, Todd, Leary, we've talked about it. It just was a different time. Now, does that make that time better than today? I'm not saying that. It was just a different time. And the way things are done today, and you're always worrying about, kids, back where, in Floyd Central, if you lived on this street, you went to Floyd Central, you lived on this street, you went to New Albany, and you lived on this street, you went to Charleston. And there was no questions about it. And today, with kids being able to go anywhere they want as a freshman, it's a different time. And of course, AAU's grown to the point of, in some sports, it's the AAU stuff or the out of season stuff has taken over high school sports. There's a number of kids I know that are wonderful and great soccer players, and they don't even play for their high school teams because they're out, doing this travel stuff. And I've jokingly, I've joked about it, but then in part of me, I say, I don't know, here in 10 years, what high school sports do we still have? And it is changing. And I hope it's somehow it gets a grip to where we get back a little bit of control. But, I've said that I've thought, I never thought this time would come where you could go any school you want, and you live on the east side and go to the west side for a school or north side or wherever. I mean, it doesn't really matter anymore. And so that stuff has changed. And that's not just in Evansville. That's anywhere. But that stuff has changed. And I mean, again, where we're from at Floyd Central, you wouldn't have ever dreamed of going to New Albany, just the same if you were in New Albany, you'd never have dreamed of going to Jeffersonville. And that stuff has changed so much. AAU has created, which, you watch the NBA, these super teams. Well, AAU's done the same thing. And hell, like I said, it's not too far from doing it in high school.
Yeah, and we look at it, you talk about that, it used to be kind of a community thing, our community against their community and all that, and that was part of the fun and part of the enjoyment of it. And now you mentioned AAU, and Indiana has the open transfer, you can go wherever you want. And then also class basketball has come into effect, obviously, and at first I thought maybe that was good, but I don't know, man. It just seems to have eroded some of the fabric of Indiana basketball.
Indiana, I remember in '89 when we were seniors and we went to the Final Four and got upset, or not upset, we got beat by Kokomo. And Montrose and Leary won it for Lawrence North. And, the next year was Bailey's senior year. And then the next year, I believe, we went class. And I remember being at IU, Chris Reynolds, our teammate at IU, kind of always laughed about it because he's like, man, you guys had one of the greatest things ever over there. Why'd you mess it up? Of course, he's from Illinois, where I think they have 6 classes, and he would even say that was always looked at as kind of prestigious. Maybe not it was the best thing. It was just kind of a different thing. Man, there was only one champion in that state. And when they switched that, again, I'm not smart enough to argue this, but I think they did it for the financial gain. And I don't know, maybe it has gained in finances with IJ. I don't think it has. I go to an awful lot of gyms in sectionals, regionals, and semi-states, and they weren't packed the way they were back in the late 80s and early 90s. Back then you couldn't – I remember in high school they were scalping tickets at the sectionals, regionals, and semi-states. And now you're handing tickets away. And I just don't think it's helped financially, but I thought it was great the way it was. I always told the story. I did an interview a couple weeks ago where I talked about growing up in Borden, and I went to Floyd Central, obviously. But if Borden could have upset the big boy, up in the Jasper area, Southridge, and these schools, when that small school can upset the big boy school, even for sectional, that makes the year. And, I know it's not a state championship, but even if you can upset the big boy or the big dog or the big brother up the road, that was a big thing back in that day. And
it was a legacy.
You could have some statues built if you could just upset the big boy down the road. And that's gone nowadays.
Yeah, and then we move on to college, and Indiana is not what it was when you were there right now. They're trying to get back there, and one of the things that Archie Miller has talked about is recruiting inside out the Indiana players, because under the Tom Crean era, they kind of got away from that. Archie is doing seems to be a good job of getting the Indiana kids back in, and I don't think people understand it's not just because they're from Indiana, but a kid from Indiana is different than a kid from another state, at least in my opinion, because basketball is ingrained in them from the very start.
I think there's something to that, and again, when I say this, I don't want to offend the other 49 states, and that's not in any way, shape, or form what I'm doing. I do think that, and I may move it out just a little bit and say Midwest, but I can only speak for when I was playing. Back in that day, a Midwest basketball player had a different thing about him. I don't know what it was. I'm not saying we were back in that day any more talented than what kids are today from the Midwest or outside the Midwest. Probably weren't as talented. But the thing is, there was a Midwestern style of basketball play, in my opinion, that the Gene Cadys, the Bob Knights, those coaches loved, and probably weren't they may argue with me, but I think we were very easy to coach. I think we had great high school coaching. I think maybe there was a little bit of a plateau where we were built on something, and then we grew when we got to college, but we had a little bit of a levelness to us when we got there. And plus, it's like I always said, when I went to IU, the guys that I played with, and of course I went with there were 7 of us freshmen, but we were all good kids from good families, good education, had to go to class in high school. I mean, I hear of stories in today's world where kids are going to, 3-4 different high schools in 3 or 4 different years. It's amazing to me throughout the country. And again, we start getting into that AAU stuff, but I'm just telling you, the kids that I went to, they were all good kids. I'm not saying rich, poor, whatever. We were all different, but we all kind of had the same basis. We all kind of had the same instincts. And, well, all those kids that we went to, and a couple didn't make it. Chris Lawson transferred and Thunderberg transferred. But I'm just saying, as a core whole, we were just pretty level-headed. And Knight always, Knight's, I don't think it's something I'm making up. I mean, Coach Knight recruited parents as much as he recruited players. And so when we got there, we were probably one step ahead of the game. And then, you get up there and then you go back to ground zero because then you know nothing. But it was a different time. And I think Coach Knight was one of the best. And I think Coach Cady was also very good at, recruiting parents just the same as players.
And I've always said that teams that you were on were, no doubt, the greatest teams in the history of IU to not win a national championship. Some bad things came into play, an injury to you, of course, and your foot that you had to deal with. Alan Henderson also. But, man, the guys that were on, like they came before you, Eric Anderson, a great guy that we had sadly lost way too soon, and Brian Nover, Brian Evans, Matt Nover that came after you. And then to go along with all the talent you had around you, Todd Leary and Chris Reynolds, Greg Graham, Calbert Cheney, and Pat Graham. Man, that was a group from start to finish that was crazy good. Jamal Meeks, I mean, it's unbelievable the talent that was in that stretch while you were at IU.
Yeah, it was that was a fun time. And, it's not like I don't ever remember looking at it like it was a competition. And it was, I always said the 5 years I was up there, obviously, the biggest thing was having a Calbert Cheney, who was without question for 4 years your best player, for 4 years your hardest worker, and for 4 years probably the most naive kid because I don't think until probably his junior year did he know how good he was. And it was just a bunch of guys that, you know, I don't think it's any secret that when you won at Indiana, the week was a lot easier than if you lost. And so if you just it was very military-like. It was very much, if you win, this is going to be a fun week. Not that it'd be easy, but it was a fun week. And if you lost, you were going to have to pay the piper. And so we figured out real quick, it's not how many you score, it's not how much playing time you get. Just figure out how to win, and then we move on. And we did that for 5 years, and things worked out that way. But it was very much, it was Calvert's team. We all knew it. It took us about 3 or 4 or 5 games our freshman year to figure it out. But after we figured it out, and of course he was the best at that because he was the hardest worker, and you never took any days off and all that good stuff. But yeah, you win. It was fun. You lost. It wasn't so much. And that's kind of the way we played it every year, not every year, every week. That was kind of your mindset. And so that was kind of our game plan from start of the season to the end of the season.
And you guys, and I'm not saying all 13 or however many that there were, but you guys were tight too. I mean, it was a unique group and a group of characters. Some really fun guys on that team. Like I mentioned, Eric Anderson was a great one. Yourself, Jamal Meeks, Todd Leary, Bailey was on there as well. I mean, what a group of characters that had to make it fun, because you have to have fun because it's a serious deal. It's almost like a job.
The 7 freshmen, my senior year, 6 of us lived in the dorm together, and Thunderberg had an apartment off the side, and because he kind of was a late sign, and the following year we all moved we moved to apartments, and there was Jackson Heights Apartments is where most of us lived, and there was a lot of football players, there was a lot of wrestlers that were there, and there was a lot of basketball players, and I learned quickly that, you're with these guys so much that I normally didn't room with a basketball player. Now, that didn't mean that they weren't 27 steps down the way, but I normally always roomed with a friend and not so much a basketball player. It was a great group of guys, and we were all from different areas, but we were most of us were Midwest kids, if not Indiana kids. We all got along. It's like I said, was there a couple guys that I played with I didn't care for? Yeah, probably, but they probably said the same thing about me. But when you were on the floor, it was absolute 100% team-oriented, win at all cost, anything for your playing partner, and that's just the way it was. Now, when we got there as freshmen, we were taught that by the Jeff Alphonse, the Mark Robinson, the Eric Anderson, Jamal Meeks. That was ingrained. I mean, that's just the way it was, and that's the way it was when they were freshmen. And it just went over. And of course, when I was a junior and senior and maybe took a little bit more of a leadership role than as a freshman, that's what you tried to instill in those guys. And it just kept, Knight was very good at, he never really told us that. It was that's just the way it was. Again, it was very military-like. You come in as a newbie, you are taught, it's not like we had to carry all the bags off the plane or anything. It wasn't never that type of stuff. It was just freshmen. This is how you're going to act, and this is how we're going to play. And you got a real quick dab into what this is actually here, and it is about wins and losses, and that is it. And it's not about your average or where you're going in the pros or where they got you projected. I mean, Calvert never even heard of that stuff. Alan Henderson never even heard of that stuff when he was at IU, or those guys were at IU. And, I blame a little bit on that. Social media is here to stay, but on the flip side, social media wasn't around back then. And that has changed a lot of the way basketball and football and baseball and tennis or whatever the heck you play. That has changed the world a lot. But, yeah, Calvert Chaney was never – everybody in the country knew he was one of the best players in the country, but as far as the agents and all the NBA talk. It just wasn't around the way it is today. It's changed tremendously.
And one of the things that I see, and I'm not asking you to agree with this part, but mental toughness, the teams you played on, man, those guys would run through brick walls. When I watched today, or the team I watched last year, there was completely lacking. I didn't see mental toughness. I didn't see a team playing together. And I see such a difference. And I'm not saying that's every year and every team, but man, it's a marked difference, because that's something that you never had to worry about before. And now it seems like it's hit or miss, not just for Indiana. I mean, just in college basketball or sports in general. I mean, too many people sometimes seem to be on their own agenda, I guess.
Yes. I think you're right. I think even the Coach Krzyzewski's of the world, who, he's one of the greatest all-time coaches in not only basketball, of any sport, I think he has to deal with that type of stuff today. And that's where I have said, Archie Miller's the right coach or the wrong coach. I don't know that. Here's what I do know. A guy needs anywhere from 3 to 5 years to do what he has to do. And I've used this example for years. I said back when Steve Alford was there and Callaway and those guys, and they won that national championship with Hillman and those guys, Dean Garrett, Keith Smart. I said they were in the Final Four of the team out of UNLV, and I said, if you want to take Tarkanian and you want to give him the Alford team, and you want to take Coach Knight and give him the UNLV team, I said, I'm going to tell you there's 2 teams that wouldn't have won it, and that was Vegas and Indiana. I said, a coach has his way of doing things. A coach has his style of doing things. And until he has time to get those kids, you're just playing a game that he can't win, nor can the team win. And I said a coach has to have time to get his style players, his type of kid, his type of players in there, and then go from there. And I think I told this story 3 or 4 weeks ago. I said Matt Painter, who we played AAU together in high school, same year in '89. And, Matt's first year at Purdue was, I think his first game as a head basketball coach at Purdue was at University of Evansville, and I was at that game. And I said, that may be the worst Big Ten team I've ever seen in my entire life, and it was the Purdue team. I don't know how many years he's been there. It feels like 30, but he's been at Purdue and done some really good things. Well, at the start, it wasn't all peaches and cream, and it took him time to get what he wanted done. And so I think every coach deserves that opportunity to do that and get their type of players and their type of style. I said if Archie Miller can win at Dayton, he can win at Indiana. But, again, there's people that you didn't win your first year, your second year doesn't look, well, again, if you're a team that's, Kentucky's really the only team, Duke maybe a little bit, this one and done stuff, but if you're not a team that's worried about just getting one and dones, I said you got to give a coach a few years to get his taste in there.
Yeah, I look at Trey Galloway, the most recent commitment to Indiana, and some people may think this is crazy, but I think that might be one of the most important recruits he's had to date, not because he's the best. Trace Jackson is obviously great. Romeo is in the NBA. But Trey Galloway is his type of player. He's a kid that seems to play with mental toughness, that plays with a coach's son smarts, that has the ability to stay there for 4 years, and he's a utility type player. He can shoot, or he can drive, or play defense. He's that tough, kind of a throwback to the 1989 group to me. But to me, he's the style that Archie's looking for, at least the start of that. And for that reason, I think he might be one of the most important recruits he's signed to date.
I'm not saying Bob Knight hung the moon here. What I'm saying is Galloway would have been a kid that Bob Knight would have recruited. Simple as that. My dad jokes with us all the time, and Todd Leary and I have spoke about this. I know Todd Leary and myself and Brian. I know we were all good players coming out of high school. That's not what I'm questioning. What I'm questioning is if we were coming out of high school today, would we be getting recruited by the Indianas, the Purdues, the Kentuckys, the Louisvilles, and all these schools? And you think about that, that's the question mark. And I don't know. I don't know where we would fit in today's game being recruited. But I do know this, the Galloway kid is a kid, I'll say the word style, the style of play that back in the 89, 90 years, he would have fit in with us. Just kind of, like you said, kind of a throwback kid, win at all costs, does everything. I don't know what he does great. I know he does a lot of things really well. And that's kind of the way we all were back in that day. You know, you did everything pretty well. Yes, I could shoot it, and this guy could rebound, or this Calvert was great pull up, or whatever everyone kind of had a strength, maybe your go-to thing, but you were decent at everything. And he very much is that type of player.
So you speaking of your dad, I think your dad's name's John. You both just had a birthday recently.
Yes, back in mid-July. Yeah, we did. Both on the same day, and hell, he forgets and I forget, and we forget each other's age too. So if my wife and my mom don't remind us, we never remember it.
And I've talked to Todd about, because I know Todd's a golfer. He loves to golf. We've talked about going and playing, and I said, well, does Pat play? So, well, Pat doesn't play a lot anymore, more into fishing. And I've seen the pictures. I think you went down to either Lake Barkley or Cumberland not too long ago for a fishing trip. How's the fishing been?
Well, down in Kentucky Lake and Barkley, I love going down there, and the Asian carp's gotten taken a hold down there. It's not as what it once was, but when I first moved to town, I met a family by the name of Brinkers down here that were life golfers. I mean, that was their life, and I was competitive enough and dumb enough to get kind of involved in it, and kind of got to where I worked on that a lot, and I fell in love with it. But then on the flip side, it's a 6 to 8 hour day on Saturday and Sundays when you do it. And I fell out of love with it real quick, but I've always enjoyed bass fishing, so that's kind of my favorite. But I get rid of these kids, I'm going to get back on the fishing game a little bit more.
Well, it's a fun, easy type of thing. But getting back to Indiana basketball, I know you follow them. You don't get to make it. When's the last time you've actually got to make it to a game? Because now you've got kids, you're coaching basketball. You're also coaching at Evansville Memorial as well, correct?
Yeah, I coach, and so that takes, with pregame and scouting and all that stuff. I just can't get up to Bloomington the way I used to, and I try to get up there as much as I can. About 3 years ago, I think, was the last time I was there. I haven't seen a game the last 2 years in Bloomington, but I obviously watch every game I can on television and stay up with them, and obviously still root for them. I mean, that's where my heart is, and I try to stay away from the negativity as much as possible, because, like I said, I just know how difficult it is, and especially with what Archie has up there, even with Coach Crean up there. And it doesn't matter. It feels like, most people that are IU fans feel it's been, 50 years since Bob Knight was up there, but you're still following that name. And it's never, well, Kelvin Sampson did this or Mike Davis did this. No one ever brings those guys' names up. They're still following the Knight ghost, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I still, they still have such a name to follow. Whoever takes that job, it's still the Bob Knight ghost that lives up there, and he's, again, he's got a tough road to go. But on the flip side, I can't imagine coaching anywhere else. I think it's one of the top, still should be one of the top programs in the country. I know we have fell off here in the last years, but I still think that has a chance to be one of the best jobs in the country, just as the Kentuckys, the Louisvilles, and anybody else. And, again, I wish him nothing but the very best.
And, you're speaking of the Kentuckys and Louisvilles. Indiana has played Louisville the last couple of years, but Kentucky, for people like me who grew up in southern Indiana, man, I didn't care about Purdue. I didn't really know that Purdue was that big of a rival until I got to IU. But Kentucky, to me, was always the big rival. And that's a series that went on forever. It was one of the best series in college basketball. And now, of course, we don't have that. And, man, that sucks to me. And I think that's something that should be brought back as soon as possible. But I don't see any change coming anytime soon. But, man, that's something that I greatly miss. And I know that a ton of Hoosier fans miss as well.
Well, and I've always told this story. When I went to IU, I had family that were Purdue fans. I had family and friends that were Kentucky fans, and living down where we did, where you were 10 minutes from University of Louisville, an hour and a half from Bloomington, an hour and a half from Lexington, and then 3 hours from Lafayette. It just was basketball haven back in that day. And so when I went to Bloomington, the Todd Learys and these guys that were from Indianapolis and Great Graham, it was, their parents can't go to work on the day after Purdue loss. And I'm sitting here thinking, Purdue loss, I'm more worried about the Kentucky game. And it was always kind of a running joke. And granted, you had to play Purdue twice, but the Kentucky thing was just always such a big part of me, just again from where I grew up. And to have lost that, I hate it. But it all comes down to finances, and I don't know really who's in control of that. And I can't believe and imagine that game's not on the docket year in and year out, just as Kentucky and Louisville should be on the docket, and Indiana and Louisville should play. And it's just the way it is. If Purdue or Indiana ever leaves the Big Ten and that we lose that game, I mean, that's silly. But I don't know who makes that call. A lot of people blame it on Calipari, and a lot of people blame it on this or that. And to be honest with you, I'm not smart enough to understand all those, positive and negatives. I just know I wish the game would happen, but it's going to be probably a long time before it ever does.
We'll certainly see. I hope not, but I'm afraid that you're correct. We'll certainly find out. What's new for Pat Graham? What's coming up? I know you guys got the basketball season that's down the road a little bit. Anything coming up for the rest of the summer that you're looking to do?
No, I actually worked out all summer, had a good summer, and then school starts next week, and I kind of enjoy the boys home. I'm not big on school starting, but you got one more year, and then that one's off to college, and then I don't know what I'll do. I guess I'll go back to the fishing thing, but we've got most of our stuff done, kind of getting ready for next week's school starting, so get ready for that.
Well, we started doing the post-game shows with Todd last year, so we're probably to be doing something down there from Evansville on the road games, so you can come out and join us some whenever you're able. Now, I have to let you know that Todd makes me call him the Todd Father now.
He just called me. I've been called so much in my lifetime. I'll just be called Pat, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, just kidding. He doesn't really, but I made that up. But he's a character. He did come up with the fact that he wants to have a Toddcast.
Oh yeah, he can always think of it. I'll promise you that. He's thought about it all,
and he'll certainly let you know, won't he?
I'm like, you got more ideas. I said, I don't have enough time to come up with as many ideas as you do, but he's a good one. He's a good one.
He is. We appreciate Todd. We love him to death, man. We're grateful to have him. But I couldn't be any more grateful for you for taking the time, Pat. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I'm grateful for you to have spent your time with us, and look forward to when we get towards closer to the season, having you on again. Value your opinions and your thoughts on IU basketball and IU overall. But, man, thank you so much.
Well, hopefully we can get things going back the better way. And anytime I can come on or do anything for you, I don't ever mind giving my opinion on it. Might not be what everybody wants to hear, but I'm probably like Leary a little bit. I don't mind giving it.
Well, we appreciate it, brother, and say hello to the family, your wife, and we look forward to running into you sometime soon. But thank you so much, and good luck as the season approaches for you guys there at Evansville Memorial.
Thank you very much. Best
Thank
of luck.
you. Pat Graham, former Hoosier great, probably one of the greatest shooters in the IU history, joining us on the program today. We've got more coming up from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat. back after this.
Like nobody does. This is how we do it. To all my neighbors, you got much flavor. This is how we do it. Let's flip the crack with the old school back. This is how we do it. This is how we do it.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Baby, she got great big feet. She long, lean, lanky, and had nothing to eat. She's my baby.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle with you as always on this glorious Friday. A great program on tap. Just heard from Pat Graham, who was with us on the program previously. On the show today, Todd Leary, of course, a good friend, will join us later in the next hour. And, of course, Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Maven Network that just kicked off yesterday. Tom's a longtime sports writer, covered Hoosiers, went to Indiana, been around the block, and he's back. Got Tom on today. He was out at IU Football Media Day yesterday. We'll catch up and get his thoughts on that. Earlier, you heard from Kalen DeBoer, the offensive coordinator. Also, on the dais yesterday, Kane Womack, the newly instituted defensive coordinator. Tom Brew asked him about depth on the defensive side of the ball. Let's hear what Coach Womack had to say.
Coach, with better depth at all three levels now, how much does that play into allowing you to be even more aggressive, pressure guys, and taking that approach that you're going to play a lot of guys to keep everybody fresh?
Yeah, that's a So that's you got to be careful in how you manage that, right? Because when you play more players, that means that you have to disseminate the reps among those players to get them ready for a season, right? In doing that, you got to make sure that we're not doing too much so that each player gets the reps that are actually going to transfer over to game day. So that being said, we want to be multiple and aggressive, but I think we have spent countless hours this offseason making sure that we are simple enough that our players can go execute, and yet multiple in the way that we show ourselves, all right, to an offense, and the way we present ourselves to an offense. So there's a fine line there, but I do think we can take advantage of that and being aggressive, but at the same time, you got to make sure all those reps are being disseminated properly.
That was defensive coordinator Kane Womack. Defense took a little step back last year a little bit, but they're back. The defensive secondary, not just one of the best in the Big Ten. It might be one of the best in the absolute country, which is always a great sign, especially knowing that teams like Michigan have switched to a more wide-open offense. They'll be going to a more of a spread formation this year. A lot of shotgun type. A lot of what you saw under Indiana the last few years, which I don't know that that's going to change with Kalen DeBoer, but it's going to be interesting to see. I'm waiting. I'm really looking forward to these big games. Ohio State, the first one, the third game of the season, opening up Big Ten play at home. That's going to be huge. And it's going to be a great opportunity for Indiana because they're going to catch Ohio State early. They're in a coaching change. Indiana's on the way up. But you never know, man. Crazier things have happened. But we got a lot more coming up on the program today. Like I said, Tom Brew is going to join us in the next hour, as is Todd Leary. We will hear from Coach Tom Allen next as well. Stay tuned. We're back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle back right after this.
Let the good time roll. I don't care if you're young or old. Go out, let the good time roll.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on the Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, coming along and welcome aboard. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride, wherever you're going, wherever you're headed. We appreciate you taking us along for the day. Jim Coyle with you as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on the track. Another great program on tap. Tom Brew from the new Sports Illustrated Maven Network will be with us. That launched yesterday. He is going to be handling the Indiana Hoosiers site for that. Tom's a longtime sports writer, has covered the Hoosiers plenty of times before. He went to Indiana as well. Also on the program, Todd Leary, the man that needs no introduction, the Todd father. He'll be with us as well. We got a lot of football to talk about as well as basketball. We will hear from Coach Allen here in a second as well. We've heard from Coach Womack and Kalen DeBoer as well previously, so we got a lot to get to. IU football also another commitment coming in for Tom Allen from Florida. 6'7" 3-star tight end Jalen Williams. He's coming to Indiana. And, and I sent out a post last night that, if this talent just keeps coming like this, and there's no reason to think that it's not, because he's doing this without having winning seasons behind him, there's reason to think it's only going to get better when they start winning. In a couple of years, most people I don't think is going to recognize the IU football program under Tom Allen. What an incredible job. It looks like he's the direction that he's heading. So we'll see, of course. It's going to take a couple of years to ferret out, but that I think starts this season, but we'll certainly find out. IU basketball also with another offer, Javonte Brown-Ferguson. Big man, 6'11", from Mount St. Joseph, Maryland, originally from Canada. Said he talked to Peaks.com and said, "I was very excited. I'm very interested. They've shown a lot of interest in me." Big guy. They're seeing there's Caleb Lovejoy, the 7-footer. I don't know that guy works into Archie's system. It doesn't seem like that's what, but he offered the guy, so I guess it does. I'm not talking about Javonte, but love. But Indiana men's soccer, Jack Mayer was added to the Mack Herman Trophy. That is the Heisman Trophy of soccer. Indiana players have won the Herman Trophy 12 times. Can you imagine being a football school that has 12 Heisman Trophy winners? That's what Indiana has in soccer. Including in that list is head coach Todd Yeagley. So good luck to Jack Mayer. The NFL returned last night, the Hall of Fame game. Denver knocked off Atlanta 14-10. I'm officially ready for some football now, man. You got our first little taste of it last night. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. Practice for Indiana starts today. I'll be out there as soon as we're off here. Away I go. Be heading out there. We'll have a lot more of that next week. We'll hear from the players and whatnot. We'll hear from Michael Penix a little later. Right now, yesterday at the IU Football Media Day, Coach Allen, I asked him about in his search for the quarterback, the guy. He's many times he said he wants the guy that's going to lead this team. And I asked him, what does that look like for him?
Tim Coyle, Indiana Sports Beat. You talk about making that determination of who starts at quarterback is the guy who can lead this team. What does that specifically look like for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it gets asked a lot, and it's worthy of that. And I think that you just go through as a coach, and some of it is your gut feel, in terms of how you believe that guy can take your team down the field, and there's an execution piece to that to be able to distribute the football in both the run game and the pass game effectively. Its ability to move those chains, but I think at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is, we're going to go through and we'll have stats and we'll have percentages on completion and first down effectiveness, third down effectiveness, all those things that go into creating an effective offense. But at the end of the day, it has to be, when it's minute 20 to go in the game and we got the ball, who do our guys believe is going to take us down the field and go score and go win the game? And to where we have the mindset as coaches and our team feels that as long as there's time on that clock and that guy is in the huddle leading our offense, that we got a chance to win. And so to me, that's called win your team, win your teammates, who they believe in. And it's not just liking the guy. It's not a popularity contest. It's about, because they're all three awesome guys, and it's who do they believe and who do we believe and who believes in himself enough to take this team down the field and go win the game. And so at the end of the day, you're judged on, the scoreboard as a coach and as a player. That's how we get judged professionally, and that's how we get judged in performance. And so that's a big part of it. And so to me, that's what, that position, I think, and we would all agree that teams usually go as far as the talent of their quarterback, and the play of their quarterback. And that's protecting the football. That's part of it too. That's about being able to do a really, really good job of understanding the offense and understanding the various things that can happen and make adjustments, whether it's verbal adjustments and, things you do with receivers and it's run game reads and being able to do a great job of commanding that room and having that leadership piece and just exuding that confidence in the guys around you. And that position to me, as I say about linebackers, it demands production. It demands leadership, and those two key components don't change, and so it's just another opportunity this year. We had a conversation a year ago about this position coming in, and here we are again with an opportunity to do that. And I think competition makes everybody better. Okay. And it's human nature for that to be the case. And so I love, the opportunity we have. I love the number of guys in that room that have worked extremely hard, and you can say that for a lot of positions. And so we're going to have a very, very competitive fall camp that's going to, as we always say, iron sharpens iron. So we're going to sharpen each other each and every day and make each other better and get the product we want.
Coach Tom Allen talking about his search for the leader of that program. That begins today as fall camp opens up at Memorial, not at Memorial Stadium necessarily, but at the IU football complex. We'll find out in a couple weeks. Indiana kicks off the season August 31st. Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis against the Ball State Cardinals. So about a week before that, I would expect for us to know who that guy is going to be. We'll hear from Jack Tuttle later. I asked him about that specifically. Talked to Michael Penix. We talked to Peyton Ramsey as well. Peyton Ramsey's not going to give that job up. He's not just going to walk away. And he's been through these battles. And, while I found it difficult to believe that he's going to end up being that guy because he's had 2 years, of course, one of that was a freshman this first season. But the biggest thing about the offense is it just did not score touchdowns. It would move up and down the field, but it just could not. Everybody just played a bend but don't break against Indiana because they didn't have to do anything different. They could pack the box. Indiana was not stretching the defense. And that was a huge, huge problem. And because of that, I think that that's why either Tuttle or Penix will end up being the starter. But you never know. I mean, Ramsey's got the experience for certain. He's not just been sitting around twiddling his thumbs. He's working out, getting better. Maybe he's developed a better downfield game. We did see him hit a big pass. I think it was to Ty Freifogel in the spring game for 37, 38-yard touchdown, whatever that was. But I'm not going to get all jacked up on one play when there was numerous plays last season during real game-like situations that it didn't happen. 3 games Indiana lost last year by a touchdown or less. 3 on what I think was a very mediocre offense. But if they win those 3 games, they win one of those games, they're going to a bowl. If they were to win all 3 of those close games, that's an 8-win season for a very mediocre team, I think, last year. But I think they're going to be way more than mediocre this year. I think they just have the pieces in place on both sides of the ball. It's going to be fun either way. They'll either make me look like a genius or an idiot. And if they do what I think they're going to do, nobody will remember that. They will remember it if they don't, that's for sure. That's usually how that works, Jake. That's usually how that works. But, you cannot bring in a Kalen DeBoer and who has had success every place he's been. Of course, I know this is a step up for him as well. But that usually doesn't tail off for guys that are very, very intelligent and offensively minded. That usually just continues to move. A lot of these guys I talked to yesterday, a lot of the players said they've watched tape of Kalen DeBoer's games prior to him getting here. Stevie Scott was one of those that said that. So they're all excited. They're all pumped up. Indiana basketball continues. They are still looking for an assistant coach. Now that we're in this dead period, it really makes you wonder, why is this taking so long? What is the holdup? Maybe there is something. Maybe they got the guy and he has to stay till, August 31st for a paycheck or something. I don't know, but it just makes you wonder, why is this hire taking this long now? I know that they keep saying, there's no rush. Well, it's not true. Every day that they don't have that guy is a day he's not getting acclimated with his current team. I know his biggest job is going to be recruiting. Every day he's not on the Indiana staff, he's not recruiting for Indiana. He's recruiting for whomever he's recruiting for now. And he's establishing relationships with kids for whom he's employed by now, whoever that guy is. The recruiting is going to be a juggling act, I think, over the next 2 years. With Trey Galloway's commitment, you have still 3 available scholarships for the upcoming season. I expect Anthony Leal to take one of those. I'm been thinking pretty strongly that Matt Cross is going to pick up one, and I thought that they would bank one for 2021 class to have as many as they could in that vaunted class. Right now, they're scheduled to have 3. That's not a lot. Christian Lander, Trey Kaufman, Caleb Furr. I mean, you can go on and on and on. They've got offers to I think they offered to more guys in Indiana than they have scholarships available. Then you've got the guys outside of the borders. Blake Wesley. He's an Indiana kid, rather. But boom, you can name 3 or 4 right off the top of your head that are in Indiana. Then the latest, Javonte Brown-Ferguson. He's in that 2021 class, potentially going to be reclassifying. We'll see. Hey, we got a lot more coming up. Tom Brew from the new Sports Illustrated Maven Network is going to join us next. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. pizza, burgers, beer. We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moyer.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day, or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
This is former Indiana basketball player Brian Evans, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
I don't think it's been difficult at all. You know, I've been pushing myself, been focused on what I need to get done. You know, like at the end of the day, like I always say, we're all here for the team. We all want the best for the team. So I just focus on myself, make sure I'm giving my all, make sure I'm doing everything I can to make sure that the team is where we need to be. New offensive coordinator.
That was Michael Penix yesterday at Indiana Football Media Day, one of three quarterbacks battling for that spot. Also out there was Tom Brew from the new Sports Illustrated Maven Network. Tom, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Jim. How are you today?
Good. Can't complain. Played a little Summer League, Men's League golf last night. Got my butt kicked appropriately, so there's that.
It's still fun, right?
Oh, absolutely. As your buddy, little John Jonas, he won the title, so he's the king today.
Good for him.
Yeah. Back at it yesterday at a Football Media Day. Longtime sports writer, but you covered Indiana off and on. But back at it, doing it for Sports Illustrated Maven Network now, and getting back at it yesterday to kick things off.
Yes, we did. We had a great launch yesterday, and the response was good. And a lot of people reading, a lot of people signing up so they can pay attention every day. And, of course, it's all free right now. But you can go to maven.io/Indiana, and it takes you right there. And there's a handful of stories up and some more to come out later today, obviously, as well. And you can what's nice about that site is it's a great setup for community interaction and such. So it's hopefully a lot of people will sign on up, and that way they can be able to comment on stories and chat, and we'll get a message board rolling up here real soon, and it'll be a lot of fun for Hoosiers fans.
Looking forward to that as well. Now, nothing earth-shattering yesterday, but an exciting day for Indiana football. They had the entire complement of people, coaches, players out there. Anything jump off the page yesterday for you?
Well, I think what and I sort of used the line in my story this morning about whether this team can can take that next step or not. That optimism is undefeated in August. And obviously there's plenty of that there, that things are going to be good. But what jumped off the table for me a little bit is, aside from the optimism, is there's a legitimate thread of confidence, with these guys, players, assistant coaches, head coaches, that they are on the cusp of doing something special here this year, and that they've got the talent to do it. And and then those close games that have slipped away in the last couple of years, I think they've won the summer enough, but they're going to be better prepared for that, and they're looking forward to having a winning season and making some noise, and that was nice to see. It wasn't just, well, we hope we're going to be better. They are confident that they are better, and they will be better, and that they'll show it on the field on Saturdays.
Yeah, that goes along with something I've been saying all summer. We've been able to meet with a lot of the freshmen over the course of the summer each week and get to know them. And the one thing that was clear to me, that every player on that team was on the same page. I said it 1,000 times because it came through loud and clear. And again, what you're saying yesterday is the same thing. They all are, but it's on the same page with confidence. Ironically, to me, the guy that was most reserved with his comments yesterday may have been Coach Kalen DeBoer, the new offensive coordinator. But of course, the highest expectations may be on his shoulders, though.
Right. Well, he's certainly the guy who has the unit that needs to improve. But where that confidence came next, I think, was from all the players involved in that offense. Had a chance to talk, with quite a few of them yesterday, and certainly the quarterbacks, in a big competition here, feel like whoever wins that job is going to be better, and the wide receiver score is as healthy as it's ever been, and plenty of talent and depth there, and obviously, with Stevie back at running back, he had a great year last year, and he told me he's dropped about 10 pounds, and he's a good full step faster than he was a year ago. That his summer workouts with Coach Blue and the training staff and everything have just been tremendous, and he's really looking forward to having a huge year. So, but it was nuts, and it's that confident level that they will do a better job of scoring points will be good. So.
Yeah, we've got a 3-man race for quarterback. Obviously, we've talked about that. But and talking to each and every one of those guys, they all are geared towards doing what's best for the team, of course. But yeah, they all want to be the guy. And after 2 seasons of Peyton Ramsey being in the quarterback, I've pretty much said that it's got to be probably Tuttle or Penix, but that's just not the case. Peyton Ramsey's not going to walk away, and who knows? Maybe he's fixed his shortcomings. We'll find out, of course, but he's certainly not going to walk away, and what that makes it better for the other guys. Coach Allen continues to talk about iron sharpening iron, and they want that good competition, and that's what they need. They need to have the best guy possible back there.
Sure, and I think what really came from Coach Allen yesterday and Coach DeBoer was, they really want to identify their starting quarterback, well before the season starts, so that they can prepare that guy for game 1. So that seems to me that, this is basically going to be probably like a 2-week deal, maybe a 3-week deal tops, where they determine that, and they're going to watch everything in practice close. They were real specific yesterday about, making a point that they will make sure all 3 of those guys get plenty of reps with the ones, so that they see, how they do with those guys, and they'll keep track of all that stuff. And I think the scrimmages are just going to be, probably some of the most important, Indiana scrimmages in August in history, because it's just, I think it really needs to be determined. Because it was like, I asked the question of Coach Allen yesterday, is, a lot of times when you have 2 or 3 quarterbacks, you really don't have any. Well, that's not the case here. I mean, I think they firmly believe that they can win games with Peyton Ramsey, but I also think that they really like Michael Penix and they really like Jake Tuttle. And if one of those guys wins the job, then they think they can win with them too. And so it's an interesting dynamic, and it's going to be curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, that's kind of goes along with last year, the 3-man race that ended up being quickly a 2-man race when Peyton Ramsey and Michael Penix was just a raw freshman right out of high school. And then I'm drawing a blank on the kid that came in from Arizona that ended up leaving camp. But like you said, they went from 3 quarterbacks. All of a sudden, that room imploded. This year, I don't expect that to be the case. It's going to be a fun ride for the next couple of weeks. And of course,
I think so. And one of the benefits, with Michael Penix is, I think he's certainly going to be a starting quarterback in Indiana, for a long time. The fact that when he got hurt last year, he was eligible, to take that redshirt year since he didn't play more than 4 games. So he still has 4 years of eligibility left. So I think in his case that if he, I think he wants to be the starting quarterback. He looked me right in the eye and told me that, but if he doesn't become the starting quarterback, I don't think that's a situation where he'll turn and leave. I mean, I think he's very happy to be a Hoosier, and he's glad to be in Bloomington, and he knows he's going to have a whole bunch of great games in Bloomington during his career. It's just when does it start? And he could very well win the starting job, but we'll see. And it's because Peyton Ramsey is an interesting guy. To me, it's the strangest thing about him is that he's the school's all-time completion leader. He's his average completed nearly 60% of his passes, and so that tells me that he's accurate, and it tells me that he's smart about picking the right places to throw. But then he also threw in 13 interceptions last year, and some of them were horrible at the most inopportune times. So those two things just don't correlate, at all. And there's been a lot of guys who played at a younger age who made those, kind of mistakes, and they've taken a step and were better with the ball. And so we'll have to see that too. So it's, that's why, what goes on in practice here in these first 2 or 3 weeks is going to be huge.
Yeah, the biggest knock on Peyton Ramsey last year is that he couldn't get the ball downfield. He couldn't get the team downfield, and they didn't score a lot of touchdowns. It either ended up in a field goal or nothing more often than not, and that was an issue. And as a matter of fact, talking to Ty Freifogel yesterday, tight end, he talked about the longest catch he had last year. He had a number of catches, but it was always 5 yards. 5 yards.
Right.
So he's looking forward to expanding that, and I think that's something that Kalen DeBoer is working fervently on getting done.
Yep, no, I agree, and I think obviously behind closed doors and during closed practices, their red zone offense is going to be a huge point of emphasis all camp. Because they just they did move the ball last year, they just didn't finish drives, and there were just way too many times where they were threatening and in position where they just, went 3 and out, late in a drive where they needed to either, get that one more first down or get that touchdown. And, that needs to be better because, what they proved last year with all those close games is, they are an extra touchdown a game away from being, an 8-4, 9-3 team instead of a 5-7 team. And it's, that's where it's going to come. And that really came out from everybody yesterday. It's like, hey, we all just need to make one more play. We all just need to be one play better. And that's exactly right. Because you can look back, on that season and on the season before, even for that matter, where several games, just somebody make a play. One play would have made the difference. And and that's what this team is going to have to be all about. Come 2019.
With the excitement and surrounding the quarterback chase and the offense, not a lot getting talked about the defense, but the secondary is not only one of the best in the conference. I think they may be one of the best in the country. They're pretty stacked back there.
Absolutely, and it's really the first time that in a long time that I can remember Indiana not only having quality starters in the secondary at all 4 spots, but quality reserves too who can step in and make plays, when somebody needs a blow or if somebody gets banged up a bit, or certainly when they're playing in nickel or dime packages, there are guys out there who can cover. But what I really like too is there are guys out there who can hit. This is a very aggressive defense, and it's not just that front group. I mean, it's everybody. I mean, this group likes to hit people, and they'll do that, and that's the way it should be. And so they want to bring it, and we saw that yesterday in all their conversations about how excited they are about going out and hitting people.
I've talked about you went to Indiana, you covered Indiana off and on for whether it was the Star or other things, and moved on and back now. You probably have some of the freshest eyes looking at this, as those of us that have been here for a couple of years have seen this Tom Allen program, and we think that it's heading in the right direction. It sure looks like it. And from your perspective, you're coming in with a little fresher eyes. How does this look to you? This optimism that I'm talking about, a lot of people are talking about. Do you think that that's real, and that people can really expect to see that this year?
Well, I do think it's real, and I think like anything, it has to play out on the field. What I see here is, as I wrote about today, is I think a lot of times you'd have a real legitimate concern about two new coordinators coming in and sort of starting from scratch. But that's with Kay Womack coming in to run the defense, that he's a Tom Allen guy, and he knows exactly what his head coach wants. He knows what he wants to do with that defense. He's got the pieces in place to do it. So I think, that defense that, bordered on basically being a top 25 defense last year will be just as good, if not better. And then now I think the biggest thing with the offense is when they determine, who wins this quarterback derby, that guy's got to protect the ball, and he's got to make big throws on third down. And of course, Stevie's got to stay healthy at running back. I mean, there's depth there, but he's proven last year that he's a legitimate stud, and it's like, and then, they relied on him too much last year because there was nothing else they could do. But I think the receiving core is better, and especially if they stay healthy. And if they can mix and match a little bit better, because obviously that Indiana offense was very predictable last year, and I think that's going to change. I think the play calling will be much better this year, and and the players seem to be buying in nicely to what's being done. What's been installed so far, they think they can be aggressive and attack with it. So I think everything does point in the right direction, and fresh pair of eyes or not, I could see the talent that's there, and the way the schedule lays out, it's like they've got opportunities early, so it's so let's see them get their feet wet, with some early wins and be impressive in those non-conference games, and then be all ready for Ohio State at home and see what can happen. So. You there, Jim? Jim, are you there?
I think we've lost him here for a second. Let me try to get him back real quick.
I can hear you guys. I can hear you guys if you cannot hear me. I can hear you guys. Can you hear me? Okay. Sorry about that. Can you hear me, guys? Okay. Okay.
Are we back?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think that was on our end. Sorry about that, Tom.
No worries.
But now switching gears to basketball real quick, one quick question. Indiana still has not hired that assistant coach that they're searching for. We're kind of in a dead period now. And I know there's not a ton of rush because a lot of things have been set. But as this drags on, does this start to get a little worrisome, a little wondering what's going on?
I'd be more worried if they hired somebody quickly and wrong. So it's, quite frankly, it's early August. So no, it doesn't bother me any. I am assuming that he has, one target in mind or two, and they're working out details and logistics, but we'll have to see. I mean, I will be totally honest, having just gotten rolling and not having had any opportunities to chat with any basketball people left, that I don't know anything behind the scenes. But if I had to guess based on this time of year when you're hiring an assistant, it's not always easy, because you may have someone you really want where getting them out of a current contract or an existing contract might take more than just a handful of steps. So if I'm guessing, if I just had to make a guess, I would think that's what the delay is. That they probably have somebody they want, but there's probably some sort of contractual thing they need to work out to get rid of his current deal, or they've got to maybe have a buyout situation or a release situation that they have, where there might have been some language in his contract that precluded him to going, to Indiana for whatever reason. I wouldn't know that. I'm just throwing that out there, but that could very well be it. And quite frankly, it's they're not, they'll announce it when they're ready. And that's usually how it works. So I think they're probably just dotting some I's and crossing some T's and taking it from there.
Absolutely. Now, what's next on the Sports Illustrated Maven site?
Well, a little bit later this afternoon, I'm going to let everybody get caught up with Nick Westbrook. Had a great conversation with him yesterday. Fifth-year wide receiver back, ready to have one last big go-round in Bloomington. And, great guy, great kid, so many great talent. And, he told me he's healthy and ready to go, and really looking forward to having a big fall camp, being 100% healthy, because coming off injury last year, he said he was cleared to play, but he knew he wasn't, quite 100% when it all started. So he's really excited about, his fifth and final year in Bloomington and wanting to do some big things. So we'll be posting that story a little bit later this afternoon.
And then let's tell everybody again where they can find that.
It's Maven, MAVEN.io/Indiana. Take you right there, and then just go ahead and when you get there, just create a profile so that you can get there, and then we can communicate with you as well if we got specials going on. There's going to be a lot of that coming up too. We're going to, with our Sports Illustrated ties there, we're going to be able to do some freebies and some giveaways and stuff like that. So it's good to be a Maven member, and obviously, the content will be great, and especially as we get rolling and add to the team a little bit and do more, it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. So I hope everybody partakes in it and enjoys it. So
we'll look forward to it. Tom Brew, I can't thank you enough, man. I'm sure I'll see you out there on the practice field sometime soon.
I'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Maven Network. We're back with Todd Leary right after this. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat coming back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
The morning's here, we're all still awake, just looking for some more drugs to take. Pack that on a mound of fire ants, only lost a shoe and a pair of pants.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball players.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville. For the best recycling and waste removal service, turn to the area's leader, Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling, a homegrown company serving southern Indiana since 1995. Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling serves Floyd, Clark, Harrison, and Washington counties. For excellent service and peace of mind, call Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling today at 812-944-5642. That's 812-944-5642. Keep life sweet with Sweetland Waste Removal and Recycling.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Hi, this is AJ Moyer, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
He was always, well, first thing I found out on Indiana is I started to hate Purdue just because he hated Purdue so much. I didn't even go here. Well, I didn't even know I was going to go here, and I hated Purdue for just no reason.
Welcome back to the Indiana Sports Beat. Of course, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. With us now, the Todd father. I played that just for you, Todd. That's potential quarterback Jack Tuttle for Indiana. Learning to hate Purdue before he even knew who Purdue was, basically.
Well, that's good. I mean, you got to learn the essentials if you're going to be down there. So that's one of them.
His father was a walk-on kicker at Indiana. He said that's. Someone asked him yesterday, what's your father? How's he played a role in your all that stuff? And he said, well, one of the first things I learned was to hate Purdue. So yeah, he's ahead of the game. Half the guys that come here aren't in tune to that, but he was primed and ready as soon as he stepped on campus.
Well, if his dad was a kicker, I mean, does the family just disregard him also, just like football teams usually do, or is he actually a part of the family?
Exactly. It's like being the last guy on the bench, man. Oh, but Ben, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good. Getting finishing another week here. Just got the move all settled, so I am excited to be stuck in the same spot for a little while.
We had your buddy Pat Graham on yesterday.
Did you?
Sir. Oh, yeah. Patrick. I don't know if Jakes has the clip ready, but he didn't get it ready, but I told him that you make me call you the Todd father. He got a kick out of that.
Yeah, you know what? It probably wouldn't surprise him. He knows I've got some weird quirkiness, so he probably would not be utterly shocked by that.
How's the Todd father's summer going?
It's going great. It is good. I like I said, I got the move to Evansville all completed, and revisited some people that I knew back from college and had met back then. So it's been a lot of fun. I like going to new places and stuff like that. I like traveling and that stuff. So going to new area isn't a big shock to me. And I am enjoying it. Major places.
You hear that? So, yeah, you hit Paducah, Evansville, all the major sightseeing places.
Yeah. Metropolises.
Indiana basketball, of course, in kind of just a slow, nothing going on period in the summer. Well, people think that, but of course, behind the scenes, the workouts and all that are going on. The summer workouts. What were the summer workouts for you guys like? You're kind of away from the spotlight. You don't have the media around. You don't have the fans around, but there's stuff going on back behind the scenes. What were those summer times like for you guys?
They sucked. Like they were awful. We had at least to this part of the year, they don't have the summer school portion of it, hopefully. So the first session of summer school, that session, so it starts right after, school ends in May. That next Monday, summer school first session starts up. And so when you're doing that, you've got a morning workout between like 5:30 and 6, and then you've got class from like 8 to 10 or 11. And then you go work from like 11 or noon till 5, and then you have afternoon workouts from like either 5:30 or 6 o'clock for a couple of hours. And I mean, it's just exhausting. Like it's a lot of work. I mean, that's kind of what you say, when you're trained, when you leave IU, especially when I was there. I mean, you're trained to have a good work ethic, and, there's no options. It's not like you can choose to not go to summer school or choose to not have one of the jobs or whatever. Like you're forced to do that stuff. And it's a good thing. I'm saying it, at the time I was like, this sucks, but, it trains you to have a good work ethic and work hard and what's expected of you. And so, when you've got goals for weightlifting and that stuff. And I mean, I had made the comment to you before, like I came into IU weighing 160 pounds. And I had fake weightlifted for a long time in high school, but I mean there was not a whole lot of muscle on me, and so they set these goals for you, and you've got to get to them. I mean, trying to hit squat goals, it's not easy for someone who's not done it a lot. So there's a lot that goes on. The summertime is not, the season is not October or November through April. The season is all year long, and these guys are so big and so athletic and so strong nowadays. Like they are working their butts off, and there's not really an off season.
How does one fake weight training get away with it?
I can't really tell you. I know that back then, I know that a lot of times when the teachers or the people would be in one side of the classroom, I know like I was in the other one, and when you're supposed to do like sets of, maybe 15 or 20 reps, like I'm really good at like the first 2 or the last 2, but I'm going to say those middle ones don't really happen. And so you don't build a whole lot of muscle when you're only doing 2 or 3 reps of everything.
I hear that. Now we look at the Indiana recruiting. Last year, of course, they brought in, or this year, it's from last year's class, but Trace Jackson Davis and Armand Franklin. The upcoming class, they've got 4 open scholarships. I think that they may end up banking one of those, but of those 3, I think 2 of the kids are also be from Indiana. That gives them 4 out of 5 in this last class. And then that 2021 class, I think they're going to pull in, a bunch of kids from Indiana. And all told, I think by the end of that 2021 deal, Indiana could be 10 of 13 on the roster from Indiana, which that's a high number even for back in your day.
Yeah, that is for sure a high number. I don't care what school you're talking about, anywhere across the country. That's a big number, all from one state. So, that's always been a thing. That it was huge when Coach Knight was there, because you kind of had to know what you were signing up for. I think there was some people it just wasn't made out for. I mean, obviously Larry Bird, it wasn't made for Larry Bird, and it wasn't like he didn't turn out to be nothing. It's not for everyone. And so the Coach Knight thing, you kind of have to prepare for that and be ready for it and know what it is. I don't necessarily know it's the same thing anymore. I mean, I think a lot more kids would fit into the Indiana system today than they would have back then. So the pool is bigger, and I just, I think that it's getting back. I think the recruiting wise, it's getting back to the point of they're doing the right things where they're making kids aware that they're interested in them. Recruiting is so much more difficult now than it used to be. I mean, you basically have to start recruiting a kid, in the 8th or 9th grade for sure, if you want to be in on the front end of it. And you understand the fact of, kids' first impressions. It's a big deal to them to get that first offer, that they get that first real big school looking at them. Kids generally don't forget who that is. And, it's like a first girlfriend kind of thing. But these guys, you've got to be in on the front end of it, or you're fighting an uphill battle the whole way. And these coaches and recruiting specialists, at these schools know that, and it's just a big deal. So they've got to start so much earlier, and a lot of that becomes a guessing game because you're dealing with a kid that in the 8th grade, you look at his parents, and in the 8th grade he might be 5'11", and you're hoping that by the time he's in the 11th grade, he gets to 6'3" or 4 or 8 or whatever you think he might get to, and so you're kind of also guessing. That's why I think they put the feelers out on so many different kids because you're almost kind of guessing as to what they're going to be like in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and when we talk about the Indiana kid, this and that, I don't think that it's completely imperative that the kids be from Indiana, but it's just the sheer fact that Indiana produces so much stinking talent that you think about the guys that got away, the Kyle Guys, the Teagues, the Mays, Montrose, the guy you played with. There's so much talent that got away from this state that you're like, wow, how good Indiana could have been. Duke and Kentucky combined if they could have just kept those players in state.
Yeah, and it is. And I don't care who's recruiting or who's doing what. You're not going to get every great kid. Just because a kid is a really good basketball player doesn't mean he wants to go to the state of Indiana. I mean, there's just different ties to different things. I think Kyle Guy, I'm not sure he could have picked a better school for him. I mean, I think they ran a system that was great for him. That just wasn't at Indiana at the time. And I'm not even sure today. I do think Kyle Guy would have he's a bad example for what I'm saying, but I think he would be great in the Indiana system. You take some different guys. Indiana produces more high IQ basketball players, and that starts with, people who grew up loving basketball and all that. I mean, these kids are getting coaching from the time they're in kindergarten and the 1st grade from higher quality coaches than I would say what you get out of Texas or, Las Vegas or somewhere like that. I mean, you've got people teaching these kids that know fundamentals and know stuff and have loved basketball since they were kids. And so that's, I think, why you get so many more high IQ basketball players. It's just a matter of whether they grow to the point where they can play in Division I because, or they're athletic enough to play in Division I because the basketball IQ part of it is there. And I think that's probably what's produced more in Indiana than anything.
Well, and we haven't spoken since Trey Galloway committed to Indiana. Trey Galloway kind of fits into exactly what you just talked about. He's a coach's son. He's got obviously a very high basketball IQ. You could just watch him play and see that. But he's very talented. He's a utility player. He can do so many different things. 6'5" wing guard, can shoot the ball. He's not a Pat Graham or a Todd Leary, but he can shoot the ball. But he can get to the rim. He can do things that some guards can't do. He's a real utility player, but he's got that hard-nosed edge to him, that kind of player that you think that Archie Miller is going to have on his team. That's it right there in a nutshell, I think.
Yeah, and I think that he's so much more athletic than the guy I'm going to say, but he's kind of the utility guy like Ty Jerome was for Virginia. Oh. In that he can do so many different things. Like he can bring the ball up the floor if you need him to, or he can play the 2 guard, or he could probably even play a 3 and get to that point. And it'll take him, he'll need to get a little bit bigger and more physical for that, but he's got the size and the athletic ability to be able to be that. And so you're right. He's the kind of player that coaches should love to have on their team because, as you said, he's lived in a house his entire life where his dad has talked basketball and been a coach. And so the kid is smart basketball from a basketball perspective. He thinks it, he understands it. He knows, what time, when to make certain plays and when they're not good plays. And, every team I think needs a guy like that. I'm excited for Archie to have a guy like that and have someone. I think that every team needs a couple of those guys. Now, you also need guys that are 6'9", and you need guys that are super quick and crazy athletic, and you need all that stuff. But I do think that Galloway's a kid that will fill a lot of different roles for Indiana. And I'm not saying he'll be a role player. I'm saying he'll be an outstanding player, but he'll be able to do that in a bunch of different roles for IU.
And because one of the things that at least is the perception is the last year's team, the year before that, they didn't have a lot of cohesiveness and they didn't have a lot of toughness. It didn't appear that they had this toughness. Those guys that were diving on the floor for loose balls and beating and banging, or that alpha male that never stood up or stepped out or made itself known. And that's something I think you have to have on any team. You got to have that leader, that force, somebody, the enforcer or whatever the case is. Who was your enforcer when you were playing?
Well, Jamal was a big part of being the enforcer. When we got there, Jamal loves to talk, and he uses his mouth a lot.
He still does.
He's that little pit bull barking dog all the time that, whenever there was a fight, believe me, you wanted to be right behind Jamal because he was going to clear a path. And so, he was kind of that guy. And I think a lot of us just wanted, we were just, I don't know if toughness is the right word, but we were just cocky, kind of arrogant idiots, and you have to back that up. I mean, you can't really talk that and then run away from it. So, I mean, I think a lot of us wanted to be, we fought to see who was going to be the leader and who was going to, step up, and when times were tough, who was going to be the guy that was talking and who was going to be the guy that was helping everybody out, and that's what we all wanted to be. We all wanted to be that guy. Or not, I wouldn't say we all. There were several of us that wanted to be that guy. And that's a good thing to have. Like, that is not a negative to have too many guys that are trying to be leaders. When you have fake leaders and some of that, I call it fake hustle and that stuff. Like, there's guys who would dive on the floor, but they're diving on the floor, somewhat cautiously, not throwing themselves a million miles an hour on the floor as hard as you can. And, those guys the guys who are playing know who those guys are and know what it's like playing with those guys, but we just didn't have that. And I don't see that in any of the guys. I think Rob Finnessy will be a guy that throughout the course of his career will continue to get a little bit more vocal and a little bit tougher. And he's already a tough kid, but I think just being more vocal about it is something. It's not his personality, but I think he'll grow into it a little bit more than he was in his first year. He had just an outstanding playing year. I think he'll improve a ton in the next couple of years over how he leads the team and how he gets other guys to follow him.
I know you're busy. You don't get a lot of chance to get on social media, but the Jamal Meeks on Facebook, he's got his Fat Boy Fitness Club going. Wherever he goes, you can see him on a treadmill, and he's got the camera on his phone and just talking, being typical Jamal. It's kind of comical. It's pretty comical.
Me at all.
Pretty comical.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. And he's probably talking trash to the treadmill because he will talk trash to anyone.
It's great. Todd, man, I cannot thank you enough, brother. I appreciate you. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful weekend.
I appreciate it, buddy. I'll talk to you next week. Look forward to it.
Absolutely, man. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you later. Todd Leary, our great friend, former Hoosier, great talking to us here. That's going to wrap it up for us today. What a great program. Tom Brew was on with us, of course, talking some IU football. Todd Leary, we just finished up with him talking Hoosier hoops. We heard from Coach Allen, Coach DeBoer, Coach Womack, and Michael Penix. We heard from Jack Tuttle. Man, we've got everybody in but Jake. So it's been a great week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We've got plenty more coming back on Monday as I'm heading out to football practice right now. But until then, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.